Heart to Heart. Real people having real conversations about things that matter most to you. I'm Sherry Elise.
I'm Cyrus Webb.
I'm Rich Oseguera.
I'm Patrice Tanaka.
And we are Heart to Heart. Hello. You guys, welcome to Heart, an interactive talk show where you choose the topic and you are our fifth co-host. I am so jazzed today. I feel like I might just pop out of my shirt. Weird, I know. But I just wanted to welcome you officially to Heart. I'm excited the gang is back, who I'm going to introduce you to just in a moment if this is your first time here. Say hello if you are watching with us live. If you're watching the replay, say replay so we can still say hello to you. Don't forget to grab your favorite cup of anything, sit back and enjoy. Oh, and also share the love by sharing this restream. Let's bring on some of my favorite peeps in the world, my Heart to Heart team.
Hello.
Yay.
Hey.
So excited. We're all back together. We've got the amazing Tracy Allen behind the scenes. Hi, Tracy.
Yeah.
And of course, Rich, Patrice, Cyrus. How are you guys doing?
They're really good. Great to see everybody.
Yeah.
I know, healthy and well, right?
Yeah.
We're glad to have you back, Sherry.
Hello, Michelle. Hello, Sarah, Rebecca. Nice to see you guys. So, last week I wasn't feeling well. I've been, kind of up and down. And but during this past week, some really cool things have developed, unfolded in my life personally. And one of them is, wait, before I get into that, actually, I wanted to be able to let everybody know that we are halfway through the show. We're going to be opening up the vault, right? So we got some really cool questions that came in this week. Sorry to totally cut that off. I'm so excited about our topic today. So you guys sent in some questions. Steven sent in, what can you do when your true love doesn't trust you? Anonymous sent in, how do you deal with the loss of a family member you don't feel connected to yet and feel guilty about that? And then last, how do you tell someone that you love that they smell bad? We are going to be opening up the vault halfway through the show, and one of these questions will be waiting for you. I know, Rich, I know I smelled something from here. But before we get into that, I want to talk, just as I started, about that I've had some really cool things happen this week. And one of them is one of my bucket list and dreams coming true this week is landing a TEDx talk later this year. And I could cry right now because I'm so excited about it. It's been a big dream. Anyway, so one of the, not requirements, but they ask us, to go ahead and research TED Talks and TEDx Talks to really get a feel for what it is and what inspires you and maybe the ways that what you can bring to it. So I was just looking around and there was one that was talking about success. And the speaker was talking about his idea of what success is to him. And he said this thing that I thought was amazing. And it had me rethinking again, my idea of success. He had said, success to me is when I look out and there are eyes, all the eyes around me are sparkling. He's a musician. And I was like, whoosh, because I've thought of success a lot over the years and what it means to me. And it's kind of evolved over time. It seems to change the more that I grow. And so I'm curious for you guys, it's a two-parter question. One is, what is success to you? What is the meaning of success? And then also for you, has it also changed over time? And then if you want to throw in there, do you feel like you are living your success? You can answer whichever parts you want of that. So, and for the audience as well.
I love this, Sherry. Success for me really has not changed that much because I'm such a simple person. I mean, for me, success has always been equated with joy and with happiness. And so it's never been about reaching a certain job or income or car or house or living a certain place. It's always just been, am I happy? And I think because it's that simple for me, I have felt like I'm a success in that, because even though the work I've done has evolved, it's still what brings me joy. It's still what makes me happy. And I understand that can be a conundrum for people who work with me because they may want more than just being happy, you know? I mean, but so I've tried to also think about what am I leaving behind? And I think that's also now the new added dimension for me is yes, I'm happy, but am I making other people happy too? And that is kind of my idea for success.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I can ask you a little side question from that, because I know that you've talked to us about, your past and, suicide stuff, the attempts at that, and you've been very open about that. And at that time in your life, because you're talking about now success and it hasn't really changed, was that your form of success then too? Like your idea was about being happy?
That I'm glad you brought that up. So, for myself, and like you said, I've shared it before, the suicide attempts and the unhappiness I was feeling was because I thought I couldn't live up to what other people saw in me, which seems odd that is what would lead me to be depressed. But it's when I realized that even if I didn't live up to what they thought I should be doing, as long as I was happy, that was still success. So I would say it kind of is a balance of it, because for me, my unhappiness came from I was putting so much on someone else and what their thoughts were and would I be able to do it, because I loved them and respected them and I knew they were coming from a good place. So for me, it's now making sure I'm coming from a good place, but also that even with the decisions that I make and the work that I do, that I'm leaving people feeling good.
Yeah. And I totally, agree with what Cyrus says. Success for me is living my life purpose every single day. And if I can, and I have a life purpose that I wrote in a pretty prescriptive way. So I'm very clear about what I need to do every single day to actively live my life purpose. And that is to choose joy in my life every day, to be mindful of that joy and to share that joy with others. So it's choose joy, be mindful of it, and share it with others. So unless I'm doing all three things, it's not, the most successful day. So, and frankly, sharing our joy is what it is probably the most fulfilling thing, right? Because to your point, Sherry, it's when you see people come alive in front of you because of some support you were able to give them, some insight that you were able to share with them. Now, I spend a lot of time helping individuals and organizations discover and articulate their life purpose or their business purpose. And when people read their life purpose or the business purpose of an organization, they know the truth of that statement. And it's exciting to see them come alive, because probably my favorite quote of all time is from the Howard Thurman, and I'm sure you all have heard his quote. It says, "Don't ask yourself what the world needs. Ask yourself what makes you come alive, and then go do that. Because what the world needs is people who have come alive." And that's exactly what, I thought of when you talked about the musician and looking out and seeing an audience filled with people whose eyes were sparkling, right? We all love to see that recognition of, oh my God, this is the truth of the matter or the truth of me. And now I can go forward more fully in that light and that awareness, right? So.
Love it. He needs a personal invitation. Rich?
Yeah. I need to be asked to speak.
Rich, can you please share your thoughts on this question?
I thought you'd never ask. Yeah, I really resonated with what you said, Sherry. Of course, everyone is building up on what you said about, or the guy who, twinkling in the eyes. Okay, so that's the same for me when I'm teaching or coaching, whatever the situation is, and I see those light bulbs go off, those aha moments, and like there's that shift in their energy. That is one of the greatest sources of joy for me, and that tells me, I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing, that I'm in alignment with my purpose. And that just brings me a lot of gratitude and happiness. And for me, that is success. But to answer the other part of your question, has it changed? 100%, because for sure, when I was younger, success to me meant money and, reaching a certain level of income or, things like vision boards, would have Rolex watches and yachts and, big houses, and those are lovely things. But that's not probably now on a vision board. I might have like a guy standing on a stage speaking in an audience in front, and that would just represent to me, helping people on their path, on their journey. And that is how I feel successful. And all the other stuff, I think if we're keyed into what makes us feel successful in that realm, then the other things are going to come as a result. So I've shifted the striving for stuff. That isn't what I strive for. I strive, like, my goals are like, I want to help 100 people, get what they want in their lives by next March. That's a thing I say to myself every day. So that's success to me.
Yeah. Sherry, I wanted to mention what Joan said, and this is a really powerful thing, Joan, so thank you for sharing this. Success is what other people think you are. Satisfied, that's what I think I am. And I think that is such a cool thing, because for myself, it's funny. One of the things I have battled with, as much as I love my home state of Mississippi, people wish I had more stuff or showed more stuff. You should drive this so people know what you're doing, and you should do this so that people. That doesn't.
See the boxes in your house.
but that to me seems like such a strange thing to even. Yeah. So you can imagine the look that they get from me, and I'm like, why would I do that just to show someone else that I'm, happy and successful? But to Joan's point, I think people, and to even what Rich says, I think some people think, well, you're not successful if you don't have this or that. But I love the fact, because I am definitely satisfied, but I also, for myself, I have reached, if you were asking me if I reached my level of success, I would say yes, even though I know there's more to come. I definitely see it for myself now.
Awesome. Because my personal success has absolutely changed over time. Because I was raised very much around success equals money, success equals, a certain level of achievement. My grandfather specifically, he came, from the Depression and everything, and he built himself back up. He was, an orphan, and he had a rough life. And so during that time, he would always instill, because he wanted us to be able to take care of ourselves, to be able to make it. So he always instilled the importance of working and money, and everything always, every conversation around our family, everywhere, both my mom's side, my dad's side, revolved around money, and then coupons and savings and all of this stuff. And so I always imagined that that's what success was. And then, as with the trauma that I experienced as a child, then there became the not feeling good about myself and knowing who I am and my worth. And so then my success became how many people love me, right? And it just kept going and going. And the more and more that I became secure in myself, and the more and more I began to love myself, the more that changed. And it became what it was yesterday when I heard that talk, where I go, oh yeah, sparkly eyes. But for me, it was the amount of smiles that I can induce of the people around me. And that for me is everything. And I just have watched that evolve. So that was really my idea of success. And it went through a stage, because before that, it was about how that I could look at myself in the mirror and love who I see. And now that I'm already there, I'm like, all right, now it's back to how I can serve. So what about for everyone that is watching? We would love to hear, what is your idea of success? And if you're watching this after we've aired, please share with us anyway in the comments to let us know, because we would love to find out what's going on in your heart of yours. So I think we've reached that time, you guys, where we are about to open up the Heart to Heart Vault for the last time for this season. For those of you guys who do not know, next week, Wednesday, is the last show of the season, and it's going to be an awesome one where we are going to, well, I'm going to let you guys tune in next week. But for now, let's find out, Tracy, which question is waiting for us in the vault. So open up the vault. What can you do when your true love doesn't trust you? Ooh, thank you so much, Stephen, for sending that in. I just want to say right off the bat that I'm certain that there's a huge sense of relief here that we're not talking about body odor.
Yes, I was just going to say that. I was like,
because I literally talked to John about that yesterday because I was talking about this question and he was like, you just tell him. I'm like, I know, we've said to each other, you need to go brush your teeth. Your breath stinks, or, you know. So anyway, so who wants to go ahead and address this question that Stephen sent in about trust and love?
I think I'm going to go for this one, which may sound strange that I would jump on this one, but I will say this: just because I have chosen to be single now and happily single, I may add. I have been in relationships before, and I'm not bragging, but I'm glad that I'm not the statistic as being the guy who cheated, but I have been with people who cheated. So I know what this feels like. I know what it feels like to have the questions. I know what it feels like to say, okay, what am I going to do? I remember being in high school and my girlfriend at the time, I was actually dating her. My best friend was dating her best friend. And my best friend was a dog. I mean, he just was. And I knew that in our friendship, but it became more clear to me when he slept with my girlfriend. Mm. And it was my girlfriend who told me. And he never would admit it. And then he tried to blame her for that's a whole nother show. But what I learned at that point was, again, because I was, I'm me. Even at 17, I knew that, you know what, if I can't trust you, I can't be with you. And that has been the thing I've kept even as an adult, is that, I may love you. And that's where it gets tricky.
Yes.
Because the love is still there. In fact, I remember even after that happened and we got older, she went through a situation where she needed help. And I ended up giving her a job. But I ended up having to fire her because I realized she was still the same person. She was doing things on the job that were not honest. And I realized that sometimes, yes, we do want to give people the opportunity, but sometimes we can give them too much and they start seeing our kindness as weakness. So for me, I always say you have to trust that voice. If you feel as though, even though you love someone, that things are not right, it's your responsibility for your own safety sometimes to be able to speak up and to say, I love you, but I can no longer do this.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm with you, Cyrus. I don't think I could be with somebody I didn't trust. And that goes for just friends, not just lovers, but friends. If I don't trust you, it's like there's no basis for a relationship, a close relationship. And, because I love them still, I need to tell them why I can no longer, be a close friend or a lover, because trust is so foundational to the relationship. And I think that if you love someone, you need to be able to tell them, your truth so that they can hear it and understand exactly, why you're no longer friends or lovers, so that they can kind of take that in and hopefully be better going forward. Because, I think most people don't like someone that they can't trust. You can't really have a relationship with someone that you don't trust,
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first I want to read that Joan Lee wrote, you have to treat each other right. That includes trust and respect for a lasting good relationship.
Right.
But I want to say, though, that I think so I want to clarify the question, though, actually, because I don't know if you guys noticed or I'm hearing it wrong. It said, what do you do? What can you do when your true love doesn't trust you? Not when you don't trust them. So when they don't trust you.
Yeah.
Now, that's important to know because I think both sides are important. Let's just say that, of course, because trust on both sides. And I like this question a lot because I was actually in this situation with my current fiance, with John, because we both had been cheated on. People were unfaithful to us. And so when we began long distance, he was in New York and I was here in LA. And so understandably so, he already had trust issues. And as someone, this is the way that I feel what you do. It was never a bother or an inconvenience or a burden for me to say to him, hey, I'm going here. And then I would call him when I was from that place or checking in, because I cared enough about him to not want him to have to sit there and think and worry and stress. So I went out of my way, which didn't feel like it, just to be able to put his heart and his mind at ease. And I did that for a while, and he did the same for me because we cared enough about each other. Now, if you continue to do that and you are doing everything possible to help get someone to trust you, and after time they still don't, I think that is when it becomes a real challenge, because there's nothing probably more that you can do and it becomes more about them. So my advice, though, is still to, if you love somebody, you are with them in it and you help each other through it, and that's how you grow together as a couple.
Yes, thanks for asking. I'll say one thing. So Cyrus, we actually have something in common, which is when I was about 17, I had a girlfriend. I know everyone's shocked.
I was like, that's what you had in common?
That's what we had in common, yes. And my best friend and she started having an affair, and then she dumped me for him. But that isn't the answer to this question. I just wanted to put that out there. But I have been in, lots of long-term relationships actually. And, one was for 16 years. And this is an issue. And we were actually married and then we got divorced, but it was an amicable separation. But one of the things we did at the very beginning of our relationship was we just had this really honest conversation about our past experiences in relationships. At that point, we had both been in relationships with other people. And we just had this conversation that was pretty extraordinary about, what would work and what wouldn't work in our relationship. And I think that's really important. To this question, what do you do if your true love doesn't trust you? Mm-hmm. Everything boils down to communication, just like what you were saying, Sherry. I think at the beginning of a relationship, right, have a conversation and just be honest with each other. You might eradicate years of heartache that way. Being in a relationship with the wrong person for the wrong reasons because you were afraid to speak your truth. So I think there's that. But if you're in the relationship and then something happens that breaks the trust, then again, it's going to be about communication. But it hasn't been mentioned yet, but I think this is a great place for therapy. For going in, if you're in a deep relationship, if you have a lot of entanglements, maybe you're living together, maybe you have kids, fur babies or whatever, right? There's obligations. If the relationship is still meaningful to both of you, and then there's been this point of hurt, then getting help professionally from a therapist, someone who's qualified to walk you through this, I think is really important to make sense of it, because I know from my experience in my relationships, when there's something that breaks trust, or there's a separation or a difference in beliefs, and that there's a lot of energy and heat around it, oftentimes those two people can't get to a conclusion. They can't figure it out because you're both stuck on who's right and who's wrong and what your reasons are. And so having a referee of sorts could be really helpful. And if it was something that was a great breach of trust in the mind of one of you, then that should get taken care of professionally so that you can determine, like, is there hope? Is there a possibility for this to go on? And what then can we do, through the advice of an expert to mend it? And sadly, in my experience, there's no quick fix to rebuilding trust. It's like what you were doing, Sherry. You were like pre-building trust, right?
Yeah.
It's time and it's effort and it's actions that demonstrate the willingness to not make up for it, but to rebuild, what that separation was. So for all of you who aren't in relationships yet or at the beginning of them,
we steered you off from them.
Have those conversations, difficult conversations up front. Say what you want, what you don't want, what would break trust. That's different for everyone too. Cheating might not be, we called it cheating in this conversation. I've been in relationships where we had an agreement up front what sex with other people would mean and at what point that might be a breach in the relationship. There's, there's layers, right? So what is a breach of trust for me may not be for the next person, but if I don't say who I am and what I believe and where I'm at and what I want and what I don't, then it's on me too, because I wasn't clear in my communication.
Yeah, I think communications is really key to restoring trust. And I would ask the question point blank, what can I do to restore your trust in me? Because clearly I've broken trust. But I need to know if there is a way to repair it. And if there isn't, I need to know that now too, because this might be the thing that forces us to go our separate ways. That doesn't mean that we don't love each other and continue to wish, the other well and to support one another, but not in the way that we are together now. But I just think that rather to know sooner than later. And I think sometimes people think that by not asking the question, somehow it will miraculously get better. It doesn't. I think you have to have the courage to beg the question because then you can really get into it. Yeah.
Yeah. Patrice, you mentioned something earlier that that stood out to me because I've had some bad situations outside of, I love the fact that you mentioned relationships because we can be talking about friendships too, and other, partnerships with work, that kind of thing. And I think, when trust is gone, to me, it doesn't matter how much you love the person, because if you can't trust that person to have your back, right, then, that to me is, that's a deal breaker. I made the mistake though of saying to somebody, I think our friendship has run its course. And I did not understand how devastating that sounded. And I regretted it. They still bring it. We ended up fixing things, ironically. We ended up fixing things with our friendship. And the thing is, though, the funny thing about that is if I had not said it, it would not have triggered in them that, hey, something is really wrong here.
Yes.
And then we went about trying to figure out what we could do to move forward. So I think, like you said, communication is really the key.
Yeah, absolutely. I love this question, Stephen. We want to thank you so much for sending in this question. And I just want to wrap up, like everyone has said it here about communication. I love that question that you proposed, Patrice, that we ask, because I think if we just simply ask people what they need instead of assuming what's going to make it better for them, I think we would get a whole lot further with our relationships with one another in the world. So we just speak, be honest, and ask and listen. So thank you all so much for tuning in today with us. We still want to know how would you build trust back with someone, and also let us know your definition of success. We will be going back and checking the comments And we want to invite you next Wednesday back at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific. It is the last episode of Heart to Heart for the season. And we want to know what has been one of your favorite shows, one of your favorite questions. Let us know, because we might just be discussing that very one next week. Cyrus, Patrice, Rich, and Tracy, as always, it's a pleasure to be here each and every week with you. We hope to see you next week on Heart to Heart. Don't forget to take care of your heart and one another's. Bye, you guys.
Bye.